You're listening to Spreaker Web Radio.
Empower11 Radio. Well, I was a little quick on the draw with that jingle. Welcome, everyone. This is Empower11 Radio, and today is April 18th, 2012. We are in beautiful Santa Barbara County, California, coming to you on this great day. And this show is about you. This show is about you getting into that good place within yourself. Everyone comes into this world with their unique DNA, their unique fingerprints, and their unique gifts of who they are. And it's the people that can get into that good place within themselves. Those are the people that are going to have the most impact, live the most rewarding and healthy lives.
It's the Empower11 symbol of taking who you are on the inside, that oneness, and radiating it out into the world, that oneness on the outside. It's where your energy of who you are and the energy with the world becomes not just 1 + 1 = 2, but 11, where your energy really gets impacted, where you are inside your life.
So today our conversation is going to start with the topic of
making a major life change.
And we want you to stay tuned to the end, because we have another inspirational meditational audio. It's called Empower Now.
It's actually motivational as well, Jack, I feel. Because it came from this track came from a letter that was Jack wrote during a major life change. And it has a lot of power in it.
Yeah, I don't know why I felt so inclined to do so. But I wrote a letter to myself, and I'd never done anything like that before. Nobody told me to do it. It's just something I felt compelled to do, and I did. And I just kept reading this letter to myself. It's almost like a promise that I made to myself, or hey, if you were your own best friend, what would you say to yourself? And this is my first recording that I ever recorded, and it's not available on iTunes yet. You can get it here, but also at the end of the show, we're going to tell you where you can get this for free. You can actually download it, the MP3, to your smartphone or your iTunes or what have you.
I want to just talk one more thing about how powerful it is if you stay tuned at the end for this motivational, inspirational track, because it does transfer something, because it did come from such a personal place inside of Jack. We have, when we first previewed it out on our website, one of our very first feedback testimonials that we got was somebody who was in their office. It was during a lunch break. They actually tuned out everything and got into this meditational state when they listened to it. And literally within 2 hours, they got a huge check. It was, over $20,000 that they weren't truly expecting in their business that day. But it came from this place of, and I don't want to discount that it's about money, but it did empower a strong place within him, and it transferred this energy of what's possible when we get in tune with ourselves, how the world starts to respond.
Hey, and it responded for him in a big check. So that's a good place. So I'm Jack Voorhees, and sitting next to me is the beautiful and talented Ann Ribley.
I'm Ann Ribley.
And so today we're going to start talking about, we're going to start this conversation, and we're actually going to continue it into next week, where we have this transformational wheel that we're going to show you about how how transformation can happen in an ease and flow way, and how it's kind of broken down into the biology of transformation.
Yeah, natural progression. And the more we can integrate our changes we want in our life within the nature of how the universe, how the laws of life were set up, we get into that natural flow.
Yeah. So when it comes to making a major life change, I mean, the first thing that has to come is this awareness. Because if you're unaware and you're on this autopilot and you're not really conscious of what's going on in your life, I mean, there's many out there that are going through the motions of life in this autopilot kind of a way.
And yet they're not happy. Yet they want their life to be different and something more. And, one of the things we, Jack and I discussed before we went over the topics of the show is we wanted to discuss about major life changes. And, I love, Jack, when you were talking about like this major life change, you're talking about something more than like, oh, I need to start working out or.
Yeah, a major life change. I mean, it's exactly what I mean. Major. It's not like a major change is going to be for me to start going to bed earlier, or I'm going to work out a couple more times a week, or something like that. That can have a big impact on someone's life. But we are talking about a big kind of taking a few steps back, looking at what we're doing, why we're doing it, where we're going, the directions of our lives, and is it in a truthful place to where we desire to go and who we desire to be and how we desire to live our lives, and making a correction, a course correction, and that's congruent with how nature does it, and that's where some really powerful manifestations can come into play.
It's waking up to a clearer vision in our lives. It's taking, the place of inside ourselves that's the true place that we desire to be, where we are at peace and we're not fragmented. I see so many people in their lives that they've become fragmented and broken, and they don't even know it. They don't even know it. So people want to make major life changes, but they don't even understand how fragmented. And this is about getting whole again and in tune with that truth, that whisper that's available to all of us.
Yeah. So let's talk about why people don't make the change. When people are aware that their life is not good, there's something out of balance, they need change, why don't they just do it?
Well, there's numerous reasons that people don't take ownership of what is happening. That's really like accepting what is and, acknowledging that nothing is going to change unless I accept it for what it is today, and not thinking that once someone else changes, that my life will be better today. Once the circumstance changes, my life will be better today. Those things keep us always leaning forward, which isn't our strong rising up position.
Yeah, that's a lack of ownership. It's when you say, I can't do it for myself. It's got to happen from outside, or I'm just going to wait. I think things will get better if I just keep holding on, maybe I'll win the lottery, or maybe, such and such will happen, or, hey, if the Republicans get into office, or the Democrats start doing this, or this bill gets passed, or my taxes get lowered, or, anything that's outside of yourself. It's basically a lack of taking ownership. And people do not take charge of their lives. They do not change. Mostly it's a fear-based thing. When people are afraid, they're afraid of the pain that's involved in change, because when you talk change, a lot of people just, picture pain. instead of like embracing change and like, yeah, baby, let's do it. Let's empower ourselves in this way or that way, and let's change our lives. They just think that there's just so much pain to change. It's so hard. I'm too old. Excuse after excuse, instead of getting in an ownership position, getting in the driver's seat of their lives.
Well, I want to talk about just the pain it takes to stay where we're at. And there's two aspects I want to talk about this. Jack, the other day you said something when we were having a conversation, that a lot of people stay in this revolve place in their life where they just keep revolving back to the same place, revolving back to the same problems, revolving back to the same place. And we are actually sent to evolve, to become more of ourselves, to become more of our lives, to become more of this expanded version of who we are.
Yeah, I mean, when something stops growing, it starts dying, and we need to be in a growth, in a place where we're embracing this life and the nutrients that's all out there and using it to grow.
So yeah, that brings me to when we're not doing that, the pain that it cost us. I like to break down, okay, so if we're going to say about making a major life change, I mean, we can boil down whatever is the pressing problems or the needs that are going on inside of you that you would like resolved, that you would like to bring to higher ground, that you would like to evolve into a better place for yourself. We can easily break it down. There's just like a few categories that make up the composite of our happiness. And it has to do with, what we're doing in our lives, whether it's with career or a form of meaning, having a sense of purpose and meaning in our lives, looking for that purpose and our meaning. It has to do with relationships, our relationships with intimate partners, relationships with family members, with our children, with parents. It's relationships are a good source of where we find that sense of peace or happiness, just finding even that place within it that's healthy for us. Then it's our body. It's our body health, our well-being. That's a source of pain. If we're not at terms with what we need to be doing to bring in our highest well-being, we will experience pain. So the change that we fear because of the pain, we are actually inviting our life to be in a painful place when we're not making those changes.
Yeah, I think that people can get comfortable in that kind of position. They're kind of comfortable where they're at. They're comfortable in their own uncomfortability.
Yeah.
which might sound a little crazy, but that's the truth. It's what would happen if I started to change this or started to change that? There's a lot of unknowns that could happen. I mean, what will others think? And those are true. There's truth in that. I mean, some form of pain can, happen in change. But I mean, it's almost like, pain is a natural part of life. It's when you have a child, there's I hear there's some pain involved, Ann. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's all relative though, because and I know that not a lot of people focus on this aspect of it, but I say all the time, I've been through a lot of pain in my life with the things that have happened with my leg and that accident when I was growing up, and then the pain of childbirth. I always say at the end of it, you knew you were getting this miracle. And so we have to look at our lives that same way. It's like whatever growing pains we're going through, if we keep focused on the miracle we're looking to transform, it becomes worth the growing and the change and whatever sort of feeling of pain that we would have associated with it. I want to talk real quick about the category also. I was breaking down these few categories of finances. That's such a form of pain in people's lives and relationships. And it's like, to not change and find that place where we're in rapport with our financial economy that's not outside in the world. It is our God-given right to determine our own financial economic conditions, and that begins on the inside with getting into a place where we are congruent with ourselves and our exchange with the world. And so, there's these categories, and whatever is the issue that you need to make a major life change, whether it's with your health, whether it's with your career or your purpose or your life with meaning or your relationships or your financial well-being, when we talk about like making those little steps, they're not going to have the same impact unless they're supported to the bigger change we're trying to make right now, this major life shift. Mm-hmm. Nothing changes until we are willing to make that change within ourselves of saying, this is it. On this day, I accept what is, and nothing's going to change unless I make that change with it.
And some feel that there has to be pain involved, but that isn't always necessarily so. We can make some major changes in our lives and actually have that go with ease and flow. Now, that's not always the way. It's, a lot of times, yes, there is pain involved, but when we get kind of like an off an autopilot and we become aware and like really aware, not just like, yeah, someday what I need to change this or whatever. It's like really clearly aware, taking ownership of that awareness, then healing will already just start to begin. I mean, it starts a healing process because when like in nature or our human bodies, when we become cut and our body becomes aware that we are cut, it starts sending the right stuff to heal that naturally. And awareness is a very, very powerful thing.
That helped me so much, Jack, because I've always been, a seeker and a student of the truth and healing and love. But when you had said to me, when we have recurring emotions, either from something that's happened in a relationship that's been painful to us or a life circumstance that's been painful to us, I mean, we've all been betrayed at some level, where it's painful to the place that it almost sits in our cells, and we want to heal ourselves out of these painful life situations. That freed me up so much, Jack, when you had said just the awareness of it, Anne, begins the healing. And it's like, then we don't have to think about it and dwell on it so much in our mind. We actually open ourselves up to allow this spirit of healing to infuse within us and allow this natural rhythm to take on the healing so that we can become clear now with our own steps of what we need to do to be in a good place with ourselves.
Absolutely. So another reason why people don't change is because they feel they have to endure the bad for the good of others. Now, this is a place of really compromising a life. That's we feel, many have felt that, hey, we can't change. We need to stay in the position for our kids, for example. But the truth of it is that our kids learn from what we do and not from what we tell them to do. You can tell them over and over till you're blue in the face, but if you're not doing it yourself, they're not going to learn from that the way they would by your example. So if you're telling them that they can achieve their hopes and their dreams, and yet you feel that you have to sacrifice your own hopes and dreams in order for them to do that, then they're just going to, most likely, they are just going to continue the same process. They're going to teach their kids, hey, they're going to tell them you can be anything you want to be, but yet sacrifice themselves. Now, there's a reason why, when an airplane is going down, that they tell you to put on your own mask first and then put your child's on. Because you are not good for others when you are not good for yourself. And it all starts from the inside first.
Yeah, I just recently heard a quote that just had this impact on me that said exactly that, is that your thunder speaks so loudly I can't hear a word you're saying. And just think, our actions are that to the world. They are the highest statement we're making. And the Empower 11 symbol is about getting that statement of who we are on the inside, a match with the rising possibility of who we're meant to be outside in the world. And having that be a congruent experience. I'm really passionate about that. Our wholeness comes from being congruent with who we are, how we live our life. In closed doors should be the same person we're out into the world, because that just takes away all this effort when we are natural to the beauty of who we are.
Right. There's also this aspect of that it's supposed to be hard. That it's like relationships. Over and over, I hear that relationships are hard work. How many times have we heard relationships are hard work? And the thing is, they should not be such hard work. It should be an ease and flow. And I used to think that. That was my mindset. That was driven into me. Relationships are hard work, and working at just living your best life and fulfilling what's true to you, and that can be hard enough. Your relationship should be supportive. It should be a place where you're like not having to give so much, but you're actually receiving when both parties are mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
That's where the gifts is. That's healthy. That's supportive. That will live long and prosper.
Well, I feel like a lot of pain is associated with relationships, where people think that it's got to be hard, and there's pain associated with relationships. And I don't, it doesn't matter where it began in us, but this pain of relationships, I'm actually, even inside myself, becoming more conscious and aware that this love I feel with my partner, you, Jack, that sometimes it brings me to tears, that I can actually move even past this place. And it doesn't mean that the tears are bad or anything, but I know that it's somehow, this love I feel stems from a painful place from my previous marriage and stuff. And then I want to just get more in this place. Like, I love my children in a place too that can bring me to tears, but I know this love is not associated with pain the same way that we can have pain associated with relationships. And it's healing those parts of ourselves so we can be open. It can be easy, and we don't have to hold on to this pattern that relationships are hard, and we have this deep-rooted pain associated with it.
Yeah. Another reason why that people don't change is because they just don't know how.
Oh, that's such a...
They just, it's like, I know I need to change, but how do I do it? They haven't developed that tool yet, the steps that it takes in order to transpire a change.
I think about that so much, Jack, when I watch my children, is that, our ability to change and adapt to our world and embrace it in a really good place is a part of our maturing into our higher adulthood of who we're meant to be. And it doesn't mean that we're not playful and innocent and young at heart, but it does mean that we come to this place of more higher evolved mastery. Last night I went to bed, and I felt like, I was a good parent today, because I watched my child as he was playing baseball and he got hurt, and the emotions and different feelings and wanting to quit in the moment and working through all that process. I felt like, this is where I said to Jack, this is escrowed in him. His ability to get through this, because the only way through anything in our life is through it. And it's like we stop ourselves at the door. We stop ourselves, at the doorway to something so much greater, because we don't want to go through this major change, because we don't want to go through what's all involved with it. And you know, I just know that, like, that we are here to mature ourselves, even through things that feel uncomfortable, that feel painful in the moment. And it's like that stuff is just escrowed, and it begins to open up a big account of goodness and good karma we have available to us when we start working through the process, even in its uncomfortability.
You know, I want to talk a little bit more about The Only Way Through is Through. But we're going to pause for a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about, you know, actually how do you do it? And we're going to talk about our personal experiences of how we went through it, how we processed it. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be right back after this commercial break.
That sound more like everyone else than anyone else.
Hey, all right, it's Kip Casper.
Spreaker is the website which turns anyone into a radio DJ. Log on to Spreaker.com for listening to thousands of radio channels and start creating your own radio today.
Empower11 Radio. All right, we're back. So we were talking about the only way through is through, and you know that is just so true. We live in this society that's just like a kind of a just add water kind of society. We want this instant fix. We want this, you know, this is painful. I don't want to feel pain. Let me out of it, you know, or I want to get rich by just clicking a button or something like that, you know, and that isn't the reality, you know, and you know, people that live in that are, you know, the reason why that the drug companies are making so much money on antidepressants, and they are so over
Used.
and even pain medication and all kinds of abuse of alcohol and food and what have you. So, you know, if you don't go through it, you know, if you don't allow yourself to go through the journey and get to the other side, then you're going to have a place where you're kind of stuck. And if you're stuck, you're going to look for ways to feel better while you're being stuck.
I feel that a lot of people think they're so alone with their pain and their problems, and they think it's all up to them, and it's overwhelming to them to make this change. But, you know, I want to talk about, you know, there's great power that is around and surrounds, and there's this highly intelligent universe we come from that we can tune into and become a higher actualized person to get through whatever the changes is that we need to make when we become an open channel to this higher intelligent spiritual place that's in our hearts, that's intuitive to who we are. When we sit at this doorway and we begin reaching out to other people who can help support us.
So that kind of leads us into how, you know, so how do you make this change? You know, what are the steps that it takes? You know, what can you expect on this journey? So where do you think you get started? And I believe that it always starts with the awareness, of course, and the awareness and the desire is very instrumental. I mean, that's where it all begins. It starts a wave, you know. I mean, and it's up to you to get on and surf that wave. So, what are kind of the steps do you believe that that people have to, or need to engage in to help them along that road?
Well, I do feel there's three ways that we can make a major change, where we can grow and evolve and we can learn. And these three ways, they're either longer and harder and more painful, or they can become shorter and more compressed and more propelling. One is there's the traditional psychological, like, learn from your past, which is sort of a looking back, making your corrections. It's in seeing the patterns that are repeating. That's more of a slower, longer curve of learning and evolving ourselves, because we're looking back, we're making adjustments to the mistakes that we've made, we're seeing the patterns. Then there's the place that's in the now, and we're recognizing it and we're aware of whatever's coming up in our life right now, and we're making and responding and making adjustments, and it's a faster way to make a major life change as it's coming up in the now. There's not so much analysis of the past, there's more in the now and responding to it. Then there's the place where we're actually getting out in front of our lives, where we're knowing ourselves, where we want to go, our visions, our hopes. So we're sitting at this doorway. We know we want to get through it, but if we can have a better vision of the direction we're heading, we can get in the path of doing it. And it really begins to be a place of infusing our power of the now and a vision of looking forward in the directions we want to go. So Jack, when you said that the awareness starts the healing, for myself personally, and it doesn't matter, because we will all have repetitive thoughts that come up that were sources of things that we're sorting out, of pain, of change. And I would just say to myself, when my mind would go there, I'm already healing right now. I don't even need to give this any more of my time, because really it's of the past. So it would infuse me into a healing of the now, so that I can then open up the space to be looking forward into the directions I want to be going in my life.
Okay, so can you just bullet point those three for us again? What are they, the three?
The way that we can grow and evolve is we can either be learning from our past and making adjustments now, or we can be so present in our now that we're making adjustments as it's coming up, or we can be out in front of our life.
And getting out in front of your life, I mean, that's like the sweetest spot to be in.
Yeah, it's a high vibrational place, because we kind of see things as they're happening ahead of time, and we're making our adjustments accordingly.
Right. And so many, I know that, they feel like they have to experience some kind of, like I have to actually experience it before I can change. And that's not getting out ahead of your life. I mean, it's like others have experienced many things that we don't have to experience. We can learn from their experiences and use that as a tool to move forward. But I know that a lot of people are so in the past. They hold on to that past. It's like, it's some kind of, I don't know, it's if only this in my past, or it's because my father died early, or it's because I was abused as a child, it's because I was run over by a lawnmower when I was 2. It's these things that people hold on to in the past that don't allow them to make the change that's necessary in the now to move forward. And I say, and I've gotten all kinds of flack from it, but I say the past is boring. My past is boring. It's gone. All I got is, I got some memories of the past. It doesn't exist anymore. It's the memories can exist in the here and now, but the reality is that is gone, and I don't have to attach to those feelings. I can get up in the morning and I can decide who I am. I can decide how I want to live my life. I don't, it isn't determined by the past. We are human beings. We have this will, this free will to, be able to make adjustments and not have to say, I'm this way because of that. It's not the reality.
we don't have our full magnetizing energy to attract the life that we want to us when it's attached to the energy of the past. And because we use up what is the power of the now. And the now is, what do we want to make a major life change right now, which the past becomes irrelevant. The energy of, if we keep bringing the energy of the past, we rob ourselves of the energy that's available to us now to propel us in this great place.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, in order to make the true change, it's got to be true to you. It's, you know, for me to change, I have to change in not a way that is somebody else's journey that I want to copy. It's a place that is in the truth of who I am. And it's, you know, there's an inner voice inside of us. You know, there's this original knowing, this something that, you know, we already come into this world with an agenda, you know. And the thing is, if we're not in the business of doing that, you know, we've gotten off course, we're never going to achieve the greatness that we were designed to achieve.
We got to get into the place where we are empowering our experiences that we want to have versus forcing, you know, something that's not working. That's where it has all this hardness of pain, where we're in the experience of forcing something to happen. We're forcing something to exist that's not happening easy. When we get into this place where we are empowering our experiences to happen with ease and flow, it doesn't mean that we're not capable of major life changes. You know, I look at, like, when I went through my divorce, I look back with so much gratitude for how it all unfolded and happened. And, you know, a lot of people would say, when they would look at me, they were like, I can't believe you're going through this because you're such a happy, positive person. And it wasn't a place of my mind that I was happy and positive as I was going through that part of my life transformation. It was a place that I knew I was being held in life by being truthful and empowered and supported by something greater than myself. And that was the world and life conspiring to support me through this change. And it actually happened in a loving place where it wasn't forceful to my kids as we went through our divorce. It wasn't forceful and hard and painful, because I was willing to submit to and surrender to life's natural rhythm for this to happen. And I look back now and it's like there was a perfection that was happening with this.
So, you know, that brings us to your experience, you know, and take us on that. I mean, what was the awakening, where the awareness happened? How did you start getting in tune with that inner voice that was telling you and saying, hey, this ain't right, this is the way you need to go, and just tell us your real life experience with that.
Well, I would have to say that part of it happened where I went away with my brother because I was so overwhelmed in this place in my life with business responsibilities, compromised business plans that were not a part of my true gifts that I was here to share with the world and the way I wanted my life to be running. My marriage was hard. Everything in my life felt overwhelmingly compromised, and I had no idea how to get out. So my brother took me and said, you've got 24 hours to decide. Do you want to go on this spiritual cinema circle cruise with me? And I had a small, you know, my 9-year-old was very young then, and I had two small children at that time, and there was just a lot to make this decision. But I went to this place and on this cruise with him, and I just started getting, it was a week, I was gone a week, and I came back and I just saw this clear pattern in my life that all this energy it took for things to feel hard and complicated, the price it was paying on me. And I did not walk away from my responsibilities. What I did was I just began walking in the direction of this is how a relationship should feel. Now that meant whether I was going to be with my partner or not. And I did not compromise anymore. And I did start standing up and speaking my life. And I'm saying speaking my life in relationships and business. And so everything started to reconfigure itself. And it took a few years for, I sold my business. Actually, I sold 2 businesses. My relationship configuration started to change. But what I did was I was no longer going to place myself in a place that did not feel good and that was compromising. And the rhythm and flow that I'm talking about, where it doesn't have to be painful, is that I did not use force. I just rose up with who I am and empowered myself from that place that was of love and that felt good. So how my experience worked was, yes, I went through financial transformations over this, but here I am now on the other side of it. And I went through a stage where I had to give up some of the security that I was getting from my partner in my marriage and the businesses that were no longer working for me. But I began to believe that I was being taken care of from a source greater than myself. And that source is however people want to call it in their life. But I do believe that I was supported. And here I am now on the other side. And life had these magical, miraculous, unbelievable ways that it just started to show up and support me. And it came sometimes in the darkest hours where I didn't know the answers, but I knew life would reveal it to me. And having that full trust that when you are truthful and empowered and you're coming from not a forceful place to get, out of insecurity in your own life, but to know that this world is a secure, loving place. And when I'm good in that place with myself, the world responds. And here now I sit, I have a thriving business in a way that works, that's empowering to me. Actually, I have a couple, and I'm now in a loving relationship. And all of this took place in like a perfection of its own plan to support me.
And you went on this cruise, and you ran into some inspirational people that had that were kind of a gift for you,
Yeah, I mean it's almost too much to go over in this particular episode of the show, but you guys can follow us in some of the other things that we're doing, and we go more in depth. But Stephen Simon, who was one of the producers of Somewhere in Time, was like one of the head people that led the Spiritual Cinema Circle cruise. And what's interesting is life came full circle. And then he invited me to this roundtable writers program, and he went around the table and he told everybody, remember, remember, remember. And that was so profound. And now you fast forward, at that time it was remember. He was trying to say that you already have it in you. Just remember. You fast forward to this last summer that I spent with you, Jack, up at the lake house, and we went to Mackinac Island with our family, and that's where Somewhere in Time was recorded. It was like the pieces of the puzzle start to come together.
Right. And you ran into Ariel Ford.
Ariel Ford, who she was the publicist for the Spiritual Cinema Circle cruise. And I saw her and her husband, and I had no idea. They were so inspiring to me, and I had no idea that she was such a spokesperson for how to find soulmate love. I just saw it in the two of them, and they were inspiring, and I imprinted that feeling in my heart of that's what it should look like. And then going on forward, it's now she has books out and teaches people how to find soulmate love, and it was like all just part of these processes opening up to life.
Yeah. That's awesome, and I love what you were talking about the not forcing. When it's a truthful place. I mean, it isn't force. Because so many people, I think, have this perception that they have to fight and claw their way to the top. And I am a firm believer as how you get there is how you have to stay there. And if you have to fight and claw to the top, then you're going to have to fight and claw to stay there. But when you get in this sync, in this harmony, in this high vibrational place, when you're empowering 11, within yourself, then you can get there in ease and flow and stay there in ease and flow. Now there may be bumps and hurdles and things that come across, the road on the way to get there, but it's a much more harmonious way of traveling through the journey.
Well, one of the businesses that I was involved in that I thought was my ticket and my freedom out, that's what the story reminds me of, or the story I'm reminded of, Jack, when you say that, is that I really thought, okay, my freedom is going to be in building this software business, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to sacrifice, my time and my hard work, and I really came from this place of sacrifice. And then once I get this right, then I'm going to start living out my writing ambitions and my dreams. And I really believe that, and something got sacrificed in the process. It's like,
right.
And so if you have to sacrifice something that's truthful and whole inside yourself, mm-hmm. something's going to be sacrificed on the other end. So how you get there is how you're going to stay there. Something will be sacrificed in the end. And Eckhart Tolle talks about your means become your end. And that when you started explaining that, Jack, it's like how you get there is how you have to stay there. It's like that practical application of the means become the end. It's like, that is so true.
Yeah, I mean, it's biblical. He who lives by the sword dies by the sword. And,
yeah.
So, in my own life experience, I've had different levels of success in different areas. I built things and they crumbled, and I built things and they crumbled. These highs and these lows, and it all comes down to that it wasn't a truthful place within myself. I was doing X to get some kind of Y result, instead of, doing Y, acting from my Y, and it's been a journey, but January 19th, 2010 stands out for me, because after a couple of years of just this extremely out of balance kind of life, style that I was living. I mean,
what was out of balance about it, Jack?
It was, there was just, I was in unhealthy relationship. I was actually, I was unhappy. I was unhealthy with the way I was living and the way I was doing things. I was living a compromised kind of life. I was living a lifestyle that just wasn't in the truth of who I was, and by doing all this sacrificing, and everything I touched turned to crap. It's like I would do things that just made the most kind of sense. In the logical mind, they made sense. But because in the heart, in the soul, and of who I am, and the truth of who I am, it did not line up. It didn't work. So when at the end of 2009, I decided that, it was a decision, but it somehow seems more than that. But I decided that, shit was going to change, and I was not willing to do what I was doing before, and I was willing to change I was willing to accept whatever happened, this acceptance. So I became aware I was extremely out of balance. I started, I became willing, and I had the desire to change, and I was embracing, hey, whatever happens, happens. Whatever has to happen, whatever shifts, I didn't care what it took, but I knew that I was going to be in the truth of who I am. And, things did not go well. Others did not accept that well. And, it's just what seemed like a really bad thing, like a really bad, hard time in my life, was actually very liberating. It was the pain of the giving birth to my new life. And I ended up with $3.78 to my name. I mean, I lost my house, my car, all my toys, and I broke up with my then I was engaged to be married at that time, and that fell apart, and everything in my life I felt like it was falling apart, but it was just all part of this rebalancing, this course correction. And I would not have believed if anybody would have told me what was about to happen.
That's the miracle that sits on the other side of the doorway for us if we go through it.
Yeah, when I got in tune and truth of who I was, started living life the way I was supposed to be living it and loving it, I mean, bam, 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 all these gifts just started to come into my life, and the visions that I started to allow myself to have became bigger and bigger and broader, and it just, when I just got into this tune, and when I believe when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, that your life will conspire. The world, the universe conspires in your favor when you're doing the stuff that you're supposed to be doing, and you're presenting the world with your true self. Then the world loves that. The worst thing we can be in life is mediocre, especially nowadays with the world changing the way that it is. This mediocre type of existence is just, there's no place for that. I mean, mediocre tasks that we used to get paid great money for is now being farmed out to, it's a world economy, and that can be done in some other country much cheaper than it can here. So it's the people that can get in the truth of who they are and develop that and present that to the world. I mean, those are the people that are going to live the best lives, healthiest, and have the most impact on the world.
Well, I have to tell you, Jaxie, our paths crossed right after you came out of that, and everything that you're saying, I mean, it radiated from you, and that's what was so shocking when, the first time I met you through us working together through Skype and through video, is how vibrant and radiant that was coming off of you. So that's why I'm really excited to wrap up today's program with our Empower Now motivational, inspirational, meditational audio.
Yeah, let's go to this audio, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up. But again, this audio was based on a letter that I had written to myself. And I'm not sure, I think it was in early February of 2010, right as this whole shift was going on with me. And, I found a lot of power in this, and I'm encouraged at the power that other people are getting from it as well. So let's go to this audio.
Yeah. So wherever you're at right now, in your office, driving in your car, ask you just to take a moment, take a deep breath, and just allow the transfer of this energy to empower your now to come forth for you.
Believe in yourself. You have everything you need. All the gifts and tools have been provided. Old, unhelpful patterns slip away and are being replaced by powerful new enlightenment. Let go of resistance and trust the process. All is being achieved with ease and flow. Magnificent forces are conspiring in your favor. Yes, the world is out to get you. Get you exactly where you desire to be. Your life is becoming more magnificent every day. Today, on this day, that is your day, you make your decision to take ownership of your life. For this is your day. Own it. This is your week. The best week of your life. Own it. This is your month. The most amazing month of your life. Own it. This is your year. The most incredible, abundant year of your life. Own it. This is your decade. The most outstanding, beautiful decade of your entire life, and you own it. This is your life, and you own every moment of it. You know your purpose. It is to follow Source. The voice deep from within you knows. The voice that for whatever reason has been quiet until now speaks up and guides you. Stand tall and walk with pride on this journey you have chosen. Be proud of who you are and where you are going. Being humble does not mean denying your greatness. This is your time to rise up and unleash the power inside of you. The floodgates are open, and nothing can prevent this mighty force Source has given you. It is on. Your creativity holds no bounds. Your ideas become things that are real, that are tangible, and that are alive. You live an intentional life by design. No one has the power to get you off your game. You own it. Those who are not traveling with the spirit that supports you will slip away, and you will bear them no ill will. Source is sending the right people into your life at the right time, and it's happening. All who are around you benefit. This is the time. This is your time, and your time is now. Believe in yourself. You have everything you need. All the gifts and tools have been provided. Claim it. Own it. Live it now.
This is Jack and Ann wishing you an empowered week with Empower11 Radio. And next week we'll be going over the wheel of transformation so we can really go into the progression of how to make a major life change easier.
Yeah, step by step. I mean, the transformational wheel is very, very, it's beyond powerful. It's something I really invite you to
join us on.
Yeah. So next week, we will be doing the transformational wheel, but until then, we invite you to go to Empower11.com. That's the number 11, the numeral 11, so Empower11.com, and you can download the audio, inspirational audio that you just heard, and you can get it, better quality, and
We know it'll be up for the next 30 days for sure.
Yeah. I mean, depending on when you're listening to this broadcast, it may or may not still be up there, but we invite you to go and grab it now.
Yeah.
If you're listening now. So also invite you to go to our Facebook fan page. It's just go to Facebook and search Empower11, and you'll find us. Hit like, and you can listen to our radio shows there as well as on Empower11.com. We will see you next week.